Today, we are going to be talking about somatic intelligence and, more importantly, reclaiming that forgotten and visceral intelligence that we all have access to. So, hopefully, by the end of this video, you will be more intuitive and I will share some practical tips about how you can use this intelligence in your everyday life. So, welcome to the channel. I am all about self improvement, but more specifically, not the very conceptual, abstract self improvement that I feel is really common online, but rather making it really practical and tangible with tips that you can use in your everyday life. So let's get right into it. I think everybody's had this feeling before of logically knowing something was a good idea, but your body just sort of like felt it was off. Maybe you said yes to something, but you immediately felt your chest tighten up. Maybe you felt calm around one choice and agitated around the other. Well, have you ever thought that this is really important data? Data that we are all empowered with, but that we ignore. Your body is constantly sending information, but most of us were just never taught how to listen. So let's further define this. Somatic intelligence is the body's ability to process, store, and communicate information before conscious thought. And it's not mystical, it's not magical, it's neurological and biological. And I think if you think intuitively back to like just our evolution and everything, it makes a lot of sense why intuition and gut feeling is super important to our survival. But in our society these days, we kind of ignore that, or we've been taught to overvalue logic and productivity instead of and so we distrust bodily signals, especially emotions, fatigue, and intuition. So we treat the body now like a vehicle instead of a sensor. But there's so much value that we can get if we kind of see it again also as a sensor. And so the body is a data source. So if we reframe decision making, obviously we still want to use our brain. Our brain is great for analysis, but the body is great at pattern recognition and about maybe seeing and feeling things that aren't immediately clear to our logic. So imagine how powerful it could be if you combine the two, if you could use your brain and your somatic intelligence. So, a couple examples that I think we can all relate to. Tight chest might mean like a misalignment or a threat. Maybe heavy limbs might mean depletion. And I'm not talking about like right after a workout or anything. I mean, I think we've all had that. You come home on a day from work and you're just way more tired than you usually are after the same day of work. So, what was it? Was there somebody draining at work? Was there a certain thing that was weighing on you, or were you presented with an opportunity or a task that somehow caused undue stress? And why is that? Maybe sudden fatigue means a boundary was crossed. And maybe you have a subtle pull towards one person or the other, or towards specific ideas. And so this isn't about reacting impulsively. It's about integrating your body and your mind. It's about being intuitive and reflective and not ignoring the signals that you are being gifted with. So we're going to talk about three main channels. So, tension and constriction. You might often notice this in your jaw, in your shoulders, stomach, chest, and neck. This often signals suppression or self betrayal or threat. Another thing that I think is really interesting is I've read that also pelvic floor tension is connected to the jaw. So, these areas are specifically very sensitive to stress and to threat. So, specifically, you'd want to pay attention to those. Energy and vitality shifts. So feeling drained versus energized after a specific interaction. Or our body tracks safety and alignment faster than it does thought. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you will just have a feeling and then you won't be able to attribute it to a reason. Or sometimes you may meet someone and have a good or bad feeling about them right off the get-go, but you haven't even actually met them or like gotten to know them. So you may not know where this comes from. But I think if you think back to maybe first impressions that you've had with people, oftentimes they can be correct. So sometimes you just have an intuitive yes or no before you can explain it. The explanation comes later if you let it. So if you need a 10-minute mental argument to convince yourself, your body probably already said no. I've had this with decisions time and time again. I try to talk myself into something, but I can just feel viscerally that I don't feel aligned with it, or that I'm just feel yeah, that I just feel like it's not the right thing for me. So, somatic intelligence leads to emotional resilience because it can make you way more aware of chronic stress, anxiety loops, burnout, and just overall trust and what is the right decision for you. So, if you can tap into your somatic intelligence, you will be able to make better, more wholesome decisions that are aligned with you. So when you listen, you will likely recover quicker from stress, be exposed to less stress, fewer internal battles, cleaner boundaries, more self trust, and hopefully avoid negative people and toxic situations. Four practical ways that you can start listening right now would be body check ins. So, where do I feel this decision? Name the sensation before the story. So, just pay attention to your body. Yes, no calibration. So imagine saying yes to something and then imagine saying no to something. Where do you feel the stress and the contraction, and where do you feel like an uplifting feeling? Post event scans or post person scans. So after a meeting, conversation, work session, do I feel more or less alive than before? Do I feel more or less emotional and more or less energetic? Lastly, slow the moment before override. So, when you feel the urge to push through, obviously, we still think perseverance is really important, but you want to persevere in the right areas of your life, not in the wrong areas or with the wrong people. So, feel the sensation and decide whether or not this is something that you should be persevering through. So it's not about choosing one, it's about integrating the mind and body. So somatic intelligence does not replace thinking, of course, but they work in concert and it informs your thinking. So the brain explains, the body knows, and wisdom is letting them collaborate. So let's reclaim our forgotten intelligence. And this week, I'd say that I'd really encourage everyone to notice one bodily signal that you usually ignore and act on it just this once and see what happens.